So let's go ahead and start with the present position. First out is Eight of Wands. I believe this is you, being that you're a fire sign, or it might be somebody that you've been involved with before. Now, since this is a singles reading, it could be somebody you're currently with. I know it's not supposed to be, but I did get a lot of relationship vibes going on here. So I think single could just be not married. But this is the Queen of Wands. She needs to feel special, but she can't be trapped. They're very truthful, faithful, loyal, warm. They just bring life to everybody. But they may be, if this is either you or your love interest, okay? One of you may be a little out of touch with what's going on. They don't see something. But this person's very trusting, very truthful, very submissive. They're not suspicious at all. This also says this person has plenty of admirers. They have open options. So this could be you and your love interest. One of you, I'm thinking you're the one that has options. And they are kind of a little blissfully unaware. But basically you want to be adored. Either, you're really popular and nobody can take their eyes off you, or this is your love interest and you just can't take your eyes off of them. But somebody's self-assured. They've, seen an objective view of their past. Because you notice the past is not in here, okay? So they've had an objective view of their past. Like, yeah, these trials, just made me more complete as a person. Okay, so they're very objective about it. But with the Queen of Swords in the reading, which is the same deck, having two queens talks about you have a friend that's influenced by you in some way, and they're spreading the word about something. Whether you've influenced them for good or bad, I couldn't really say. But Queen of Swords, she doesn't mince words, okay? So if she knows something about you, she's spreading the word. She's not really a gossip, but she does. Obviously, Queen of Swords can also talk about secret love. So this might be your secret love. Queen of Swords is also perceptive. She's independent. So is this one. She's independent too. All right, but they have the Eight of Swords right next to it in the same present position. So it makes me think somebody is like hot and cold. Hot passion, cold thoughts. Somebody may not stimulate you. And Queen of Swords needs mental stimulation, okay? Or just maybe you're not sure of your feelings. Like sometimes you feel like you want one way, and the other times you don't. This could be about an ex, even a current partner. This turns more and more into not a singles reading, but or it could just be somebody that you're on and off again with, or even within a marriage. Because here I see, engaged, detached. Now when I say in a marriage, I think it's funny that one of the clarifying cards was engagement in reverse. And I used engaged, so actually that's kind of funny. I didn't even think about that. So your relationship's not ascending to a higher level. So maybe some of you were engaged and it broke off. Or it just means you're not engaged, but you're with somebody. And again, remember, if you're engaged, you're still single. You are not married. Some of you just broke off an engagement, but you're still in a relationship. Or you've never been engaged, you're still single, okay? But some of you may have broken off with somebody in the past. And that could be the engaged and then detached. Maybe the ex is the one that you broke off an engagement with, so they're like an ex-fiance or whatever, whoever that is. I guess it's male and female. Bring up that Queen of Swords. Let me think about that for a second. So we have 2 swords that could clarify. Eight of Swords talks about trusting. So again, this person is trusting, but they're really like a victim. And you probably felt, knowing Sages, you probably felt a little trapped. And then again, as this being part of you and part of somebody else, you can't feel trapped. You have to feel special, but not trapped. And then we have feeling trapped. So somebody is a little too clingy and you're like, I have to disengage from you. I can't be with you. You are way up in my nose or something, you know. I couldn't think of it. I didn't want to say but I guess I will. This also talks about breakup, 8 of Swords. So you broke up with somebody, yeah. Disengaged from them. They were limiting your power. I mean, yeah, it could be commitment phobe. You were a commitment phobe. But then again, remember, this could be another person and you. So maybe the person you were with was commitment phobic and they broke off an engagement with you. So whenever I say something, apply it to the person it applies to. Don't just assume that I got it wrong. You know who it applies to more than I would. But, you know, after this 8 of Swords, you know, the 8 of Swords is blindfolded in the other picture. She doesn't really know what to expect. And we have 9 of Pentacles in reverse, which means, you know, you were wanting to settle down. And it's in reverse, so it didn't happen with the 8 of Swords too. Like you had some kind of a setback or a loss. And it was probably due to some kind of foolish decision, whether it was theirs or yours. And basically kind of just sacrificed love for whatever reason. Oh yeah, with this in reverse, it was a toxic relationship. You felt like a prisoner in your own house with this 9 of Pentacles in reversed. Maybe they wanted to settle down and you didn't. Or you want to settle down and you realized, oh, I can't. This person's going to be on me all day, every day. And I think one of you needed the other to be self-sufficient, because this is the opposite of self-sufficient. Because here, 8 of Swords, somebody's a victim, so they just feel like they can't take care of themselves. Yeah, and just somebody wasn't ready to have those kind of feelings towards somebody. They weren't ready to get engaged, and they chose not to. This is present, so I'm saying it in the past, but it's probably happening right now as we speak, or it was like a week ago or something. It's really soon. Yeah, just overall failure. Disappointed expectations. But now you have the freedom to be yourself. And so does the other person. This is somebody who's separated, unhappy, not necessarily unhappy, but there's a little bit of sorrow, I guess I could say. Maybe a little embarrassed. Maybe the engagement was very public. And being threatened by your intimate feelings. Again, a little bit commitment phobic. And now there's an absence. You're kind of lonely. And again, you know, we have that secret love, which may be important later on. But I mean, she's direct and she's honest. She's very perceptive. For some of you, the broken engagement could be a symbol of like being a widow or widower, because she reminds me of that. I mean, this is a divorced person. This person's not married, or they've been separated permanently in this life. Because 8 of Swords can mean fatality, but it's usually in reverse when that's the case. But, it does talk about like a breakup of some kind, bad news and mistrusting, and the need to be objective. And this person is objective. At least in some ways. Other ways, she's a little naive. It depends on what person you're talking about. All right, so moving on to the present expectations. First is Ace of Swords. So it may have been that somebody's like, yay, victory. But that's not exactly how it works out. With Ace of Swords and the Eight of Swords recently. Let's get back over there. This tells me that changed your mind. Okay. You felt trapped, changed your mind. Like, nope, no engagement, no relationship. Also, later on, we have the Three of Swords. Yeah, sorry about it. You probably already saw it. It talks about a fear of being hurt. Also, possibly, there was some kind of criticism and you just couldn't deal with it. Like, remember, this person can be a little blunt. Okay, probably an air sign. Because we do have lots of swords here. So they were just a little bit blunt and you couldn't handle it as far as criticism goes. And you or the other person or both needed to use kind words because you probably weren't very nice to each other. And there's just like this hurt mental state going on. Put that back where that goes. But later on, you have the Three of Cups and talks about an end to a severe situation. So yeah, this relationship was very toxic. I don't see abuse, but I do see toxic. So this is good news. You're getting away from this person. You can kind of see clearly now. Like, you see the truth. There is some failure to communicate, but it's the right decision. And it kind of was like, no matter what happens, you win and the other person wins too. Because somebody's a dictator in this relationship and the other person's just like done. They're so frustrated with it. And again, the other lover is like a little blunt, possibly selfish, controlling. But this also talks about an upcoming disaster that can be prevented. Okay, and it seems as if the prevented could be, the breaking up. Let's see, also with the Ace of Swords. I think I'm missing something here. All right, it's next to the Seven of Cups. I was wondering what that was. I was thinking that was the Eight of Cups for some reason. Okay, Seven of Cups. It says, you expect some bumps. Okay, but you're going to have to be objective. Be honest about your intent. Because you've recently decided this, but I don't know if you've told them. Because remember, they're a little bit blindfolded by this Eight of Swords. If you're pursuing somebody, they're not exactly what they seem. Okay. And the partner is emotionally unavailable. But because you have the Ace of Swords with the Seven of Cups, it says this change that's coming with this, it should be a disaster, right? But it's one that could be prevented or avoided. And it says the change is going to be for the better. So you may just avoid a disaster overall by making this change. And you know what change I'm talking about because you've been thinking about it. The decision you make leads to good results, and like the odds are in your favor. You win against the odds. So here's somebody who has lots of options. And again, this person has lots of options as far as, romance. They have lots of admirers. So the person you're pursuing or the person you were in a relationship with or you're thinking of breaking up with, they may have lots of options. And you're trying to avoid some disaster like infidelity. Others of you may have lots of options again, and you want to avoid some heartbreak by disengaging from the relationship in whatever means possible. Maybe a divorce. All right, clarifying that, we got make the effort in reverse. So this is saying, don't make the effort to make this work. Okay? Because if you try to make it work, it's not gonna be the Ace of Swords as a victory. It's gonna be it as a disaster. And, clarifying all these romance cards is let go of control issues. So you can't control if somebody breaks an engagement or breaks up with you. You can't control if they're making a change. Don't make the effort. Don't try to control the issue. That's making a big effort. I would think, we do have the High Priestess coming up, so I'll just go ahead and mention her. She's the next card. This says, allow events to unfold without interceding. Like have your inner peace, your balance. And also, we have the Temperance later, so I see a lot of balance, and that's your card, okay? So you're supposed to be balanced. It talks about a beginning and an end. Okay, so something's definitely ending. Also, we have two choices. Okay, I see somebody throughout this reading that has another option as far as romance goes. They're like you or someone else is very charismatic, and it's easy for you to control people. Not in a bad way. It's just controlling. It says, you have to trust your gut. Maybe you fell in love with somebody a little bit mysterious or under mysterious circumstances, and there's some passion there. So, we could have, passion and engagement as in you feel passionate for this person, but detached from the person that you were with or you've been with. And your life's just a little unstable because you're caught between these two things. They're holding up, but being in there, if there was a storm, something that's going to rock the boat, those are going to fall on you. But you're going to have to work to get your goal. And the work is like inner work, inner peace, okay? You have to kind of take a step back. Don't doubt yourself. If you think somebody's in a third party, go with your intuition, okay? You knew it. This is what that talks about. You knew it. Avoid believing what you're told. For those of you who you have the other person in your life, it says you're keeping it a secret. And then again, for those of you who believe or you suspect that the other person's holding a secret, and use your intuition, okay? Because, hey, Priestess here, maybe some of you work in like the occult, and that's how you're kind of knowing that somebody's unfaithful, or how somebody knows you're unfaithful. We have it next to the Three of Cups. This usually means, ooh, good time, celebration, but in this particular reading, it's going to be infidelity of some sort, okay? For those of you who have nobody in your life, you may meet somebody at a party or a gathering. Some of you may have met up again with somebody you knew at a party. Maybe you actually literally hooked up at the party. But this third person over here is being kept a secret. She's being hidden away. Some of you, if you're just talking to an ex and you had like they're your ex-fiance or something, you're still trying to be friendly. Like you're still trying to be in a group as friends and kind of celebrating and getting together. But you may not talk a lot when you're not in this group. Or you may be trying to just act like everything's fine, but really, there's something wrong. There's like a secret. Like there's no closure or something. Somebody's just trying to pretend like everything's casual. You're just trying to reestablish some trust for either love or friendship. So if an ex came back to you and they had cheated on you, and you knew about it, you had a hunch, you may be trying to reestablish some trust, but they're not really like digging into the matter. And so you're kind of like, well, why aren't they digging into it? It's a little shady. Also, some people just have unexplained, like cutting of contact. I don't see the Four of Swords in here. But I mean, it could be just somebody stops contacting you. That's just a supposition. I don't see that in a lot of cards, just one. Sometimes this talks about, I know the truth, but we're just gonna, we both know it's a dance, but we're not gonna talk about it. We're just putting on a pony show. Clarifying that, we have release your ex. So for some of you out there who are supposed to be single and you're not because of this reading, you may have been having an affair with an ex, or your partner may be having an affair with their ex. Or maybe this ex is just like a third party in your mind. For those of you who are single, like the reading says you're supposed to be, you could have met an ex at a party again, and there's just like this secret, like what they did in the past. You can't prove that they cheated on you, but and this just says release them because you're holding on to them. That's the unexpected. Like unexpected is you find out they're cheating and you both pretend like you don't know, or you found out they did cheat and you pretend like you don't know, but something happens at a gathering. I'm assuming. It's the only place I actually see in here.